Yo, what's up guys? Path of Exile 2 are about to release their first big mid-league patch for the Abyssal League, their 0.3.1 patch, and with it, they're going to completely rework the endgame. This isn't just some small change to a couple of little things, this is changing everything we know about the Atlas. Towers are gone. Towers are as good as removed from the endgame, and how we juice our maps and how we get around everything is completely changing. So there's a lot to talk about here, but first I just want to say, this is a topic that has been talked about again and again and again since the release of this game, basically. Since the very first version of this game, people have talked about towers, and over time towers have changed more and more and more, and it has been like a battle of resistance. The players keep saying, you know, we don't like towers, we don't like chasing towers, we don't like always having to chase towers, and they've made small changes to make them a little less tedious, a little more fun, but as of now, they're gone. Okay, so let's go through this. It's not a very long list of changes, so we'll go over it, and then I'll just give my thoughts on it. And also, I want to talk about this change brings us very, very, very close to how the end game works in the first game. So I kind of want to talk about something there as well. But first, let's talk about towers and the end game, because this is the biggest change, and I'm going to quickly talk about how it works now, the problem with it, and then the change that they're going over to. In case you haven't played in a while, or you know, if you never actually got to end game, here's what it works like right now. You get to end game, you get to this never-ending Atlas, and you always have to chase down towers. You always have to find a tower, chase it, like clear your way to it, and then clear the tower. When you clear the tower, you can clear it on a range of difficulties. If you clear it easily, you get 1 precursor slot. And as the challenge goes up, you get up to 3 slots. Now, why do we need to chase these towers? Why is there a constant pressure to chase towers? 2 reasons. 1, the precursor tablets that we put in the tower have activities on. So if you put a ritual tablet in, that will add, 10, 12, 13, I don't know, however many rituals to the maps around the tower. If you were to put in a ritual, a breach, and an expedition, that would add like 10 rituals, 10 breaches, blah, blah, blah. So everything around that tower would then have lots of content to do. And the more content on a map, the more you're going to get from it. Additionally, other than the activity, there is a stat on these precursors. So it'll be like, adds 10 expeditions and increases the amount of rare monsters, adds 10 breaches and increases item quantity by 7%, 6%, something like that. So you're actually getting a massive boost to how good the map is as well. So that's why you need to clear towers. Now, if you have 2 towers next to each other, you get additional activities on the map, but these extra stats overlap. So if you put into one, 6% increased quantity 3 times, that's like 6 to 18%. And then you do another tower next to it and you put the same, you now have maps that are overlapping with massive amounts of quantity. So if you're trying to farm as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible, you need these towers to be overlapping and you need as many as possible. So there's always a pressure to keep chasing towers. Now with this change, towers are gone. The way they've said this is towers will be completely removed. The only thing towers will do is you activate it, it opens, your view of the map. It kind of like opens the fog. That's all it does. And it drops a precursor as well. That's it. So towers are pretty much, useless now and not required for endgame farming, which is huge. So how do we juice our maps now? Well, we now use these precursors on the map themselves. And we can see here a clip of what this looks like. They have a map called Maya. They load in their waystone, and then they load in the precursors onto the map itself. So the way this works is before the precursors were a one-time use. You use them in the tower and then they're gone, right? But now, say your precursor added 10 rituals to around the tower. Now it would say adds rituals to the map, 10 uses. So when it comes to endgame farming, what we had to do before is travel around this big empty RNG map looking for towers, clearing boring maps until we got to the tower, hoping to find a 2-tower setup, a 3-tower setup, and mapping like that. And then when we clear like a really good cluster of maps, we're back to hunting for towers. Now you will get 3 precursors. You will put 3 good precursors. You will put those on a map. You'll use them. 1 use will go down. You'll have maybe 9 uses left. You'll go and run another until your 3 precursors have run out of charges. Then you'll get 3 more precursors and do it all again. So your downtime is gone. The amount of setup needed to farm good maps is gone. The only questionable thing, which is what they've addressed here, is if before we could get 2 overlapping towers and 3 overlapping towers, surely that's a nerf, right? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about here. As our towers are now directly applied to, as your tablets are now directly applied to your maps, this means you can now apply the content you desire to every single map you run, assuming you have a supply of tabs. However, the ceiling for the amount of content you can apply to a single map has been lowered. Overall, this results in a more streamlined and consistent experience. But in order to not have the ceiling come down too far, we've buffed the modifiers on tablets. Generally, the modifiers are approximately 2 to 3 times as powerful. That is huge, absolutely huge. So the collectors, for example, value of 10 to 30% increased rarity was 7 to 10. So this is massive. You would need like multiple setups to run this. Teaming now has a value of 25 to 70% increased magic from 15 to 25. Strongboxes from 30 to 50 to 50 to 100. It just means we can just run fun maps over and over and over again. Like, what maps do you want to run? Do you want to run a map with like 3-4 activities on, with rarity, quantity, loads of stuff, or do you want to run an empty map because you're heading to a tower? So I think this is a really, really good change. There's also additional modifiers. Area contains a shrine, a strongbox, an essence, a rogue exile, a spirit, a summoning circle, and increased chance to contain a summoning circle. What this means is, say you want to run rogue exiles. You get a precursor tablet that has rogue exiles on, you slap it in a map, and then every single map that has this precursor on it will have a rogue exile in. So gone are the days of like hoping you find one, running 50 maps and hoping you find a rogue exile. Now you can have it in every single map. Similarly, essences, strongboxes. This is it, when it comes to like farming strategies and like when you've got your build done and you're running maps, one of the best things to do is try and min-max, or try and like find a strategy. Like just say like, I want to run some really fun breaches and make them as hard as possible to see how much I can get from them. Now we can do that so much easier, and we can do it for different things. You could try and find, if I change my atlas to have more rogue exiles in, and then I put rogue exiles in every map, maybe I'll find some really good loot. Maybe you will. And we can try that now and actually just have fun. I think it's incredible. Here's some other piece of information about the tabs. Unique tablets have their own individual number of uses. When using them in the reforging bench, the items will have the sum of the input tabs as the remaining number of uses. However, it cannot exceed the original value. When in the inventory, like your personal one or in a stash, the number of uses can be seen on the bottom right of the icon, and existing tabs that have been applied to your atlas will remain and not lose any value. Changes to map size. We've reduced the size of the following maps, which is really good. So yeah, generally, this as a whole, I think is a 10 out of 10 change, and I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to know, now you see the changes, if you like towers, do you see this as a good change, or are you unhappy with this? And if you were looking for this change, is this what you wanted? Because for me, without testing it, not sure, but it feels like exactly what we wanted. So I'm really, really happy, but I'm really curious what you guys think. So that's the big thing coming. Now let's talk about some other changes that are coming in this patch. So alchemy orbs. With the introduction of tiered items in 0.3, alchemy orbs became less valuable. To give them more function and to smooth out the process of crafting your maps, alchemy orbs can now be used on magic items. This will upgrade the magic item to a rare, replacing the existing modifiers with 4 new random modifiers. Now, it's unclear exactly how this will work, but it sounds like this will have a element of a chaos orb involved if it actually re-rolls stats. So if you have a magic item with a really bad modifier on, like, temporal chains or something, and you use an alchemy orb, is that going to wipe that and potentially give you something good? If so, I can see the alchemy orbs become very useful. I'm going to try, I've already got loads because they have no use. So I'm probably going to try and stockpile them if possible. This feels like a really good change. I mean, we are in early access, right? So I think stuff like this is very, very welcome. Have fun, change things, throw these random ideas out, see if you can, make the lesser used items more useful. Now let's see what happens. Next up, we have the Atlas tree. As a result of the changes, such as every map now contains a boss, we've had to make some modifications to the Atlas tree. For example, the Crystal Realm on the map boss tree, which previously added an additional essence to areas containing a map boss, now only applies to areas with a powerful map boss. Note this results in effectively no change. It's same as before. In general, the map boss tree applies to all map bosses, with only a select few notables now specifically applying to maps with powerful map bosses. For example, the Fit for a King. Additionally, you'll notice a number of other nodes changing throughout the core Atlas tree to account for mechanical changes around towers. So that's because there are precursor tabs that add map bosses to the areas. They are now going to have a map boss on every single map. So the way that's going to work is every single map, to finish the map, you just go and beat the map boss. So every map will have a map boss. And instead of adding a map boss with a precursor, you can add a very powerful map boss. So interesting change. Again, need to get in and see it. But I think adding more bosses isn't a bad thing. I think the bosses are cool. They have good drop chance as well. So that's good. Citadels have had their spawn rate increased by 66%. This is a 10 out of 10 change, mostly because I think I pretty much cleared the end game, and I beat the Arbiter of Ash, and I only found one Citadel. I got the others from the exchange, the other things you needed, because I just didn't have any on my map. So I think that's needed. Other improvements: modifiers that cause the area to be covered in chilled, shocking, ignited ground now cause much less ground to be covered. Okay, at least 66% of the ground effects covering the ground will be removed. This is higher on lower tier wastestones. It fixed a few problems where mass difficulty was not applying to multi-form bosses. So a few of the maps with deadly map bosses will now be more difficult as a result. Okay. Alongside the changes mentioned, the patch contains various improvements and fixes to a plethora of issues. I mean, this is really, really good. They did also talk about how they're going to make the early maps easier, and then the end game maps, like the tier 15s, where they are, stay the same. So I think overall, this just feels like good changes. The end game was always the weakest part of PoE 2. The story's good, the classes feel good, the animations are good, everything feels good, and the content in the game is good. There just isn't enough of it. And at end game, you can really feel that there just isn't enough end game content, and the actual process of trying to get a really juicy, fun map, the towers made that very tedious. So this change for me is kind of everything I would have wanted. So I'm really happy. A lot of us were expecting to have to, have this end game for the whole of the Abyssal League and wait until the next big patch, because they said they wanted to change towers, but they didn't have time. So we thought we'd be waiting until the next league. So this is a very welcome change and a great surprise. This league, I spent most of my time just doing bossing because I just wasn't really enjoying the Atlas. So I think I'll definitely give it more time now and try it all out. So yeah, really good. Now I just want to talk about something, and let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. PoE 2 released in a way that it was different to 1, right? It was a different game. It was slower and more methodical combat, better animations, WASD controls, this big never-ending Atlas where we go and set up towers and we go and populate our own endgame and we make our own adventure, right? That was the game. And the more and more changes we have, the end game's getting faster. We have the rower, we have sprint now. Everything's speeding up. And now the maps, I'll show you out. I grabbed this earlier. This is what PoE 1's mapping looks like. And this is PoE 2's mapping. PoE 2 is going to look like this. So you're going to have a map and you're going to have 3 precursor slots, right? So look at this, map, 3 precursors. And this is PoE 1. This is how PoE 1 looks. You have your map in the middle here, and then you set it up with scarabs. And the scarabs would be like, this one might have maybe like adds a breach to the zone. And this one would be your breaches have more density, and then you juice it like that. And it's feeling a lot like we're going very much towards PoE 1's endgame, which is a good thing in my eyes because it's better, right? Biased opinion maybe, but I think it's a lot better. But the question is now, what is PoE 2 then? If we are every patch we are getting content that is already in PoE 1, breaches, rituals, rogue exiles, in some element is all from PoE 1. We just got this new patch, which is the Abyssal League. Abyssals are in PoE 1, right? So we're moving in a way where we're taking more and more from PoE 1. Our endgame is going towards PoE 1. The gameplay is going towards PoE 1. But we're still developing both games separately. So I'm really confused of what the point of the game is going to be. Maybe this is just a ramble, but I'm really curious. Is the, and they say they want to add like WASD back into 1 and take the good parts of 2 and put that back into 1, and we're taking stuff from 2 and we're homogenizing them together. And I don't know. I mean, I'm all for having 2 games side by side that are similar, and we have a league for one, and then 2 months later we have the league for the other. And once we're out of early access, maybe you make a certain type of end game for one and a different content for the second one. Maybe that's the plan, and they're just very similar. But it's feeling very not what I was expecting. So I'm really curious what you guys think. Let me know if anyone else has been feeling the same, or if it's just if I'm wrong on this one. But yeah, let me know. That's it for the video. Great changes overall. This is not a negative in any way. This is an amazing patch that I am very excited to play. But just wanted to add this on the end as a discussion point. But thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.